Delegates, distinguished representatives, the emergency session of the United Nations Security Council is now officially called to order. Today, we convene to address a matter of escalating regional tension with far-reaching global implications, the maritime disputes and challenges to freedom of navigation in the West Philippine Sea. This body has been tasked with upholding peace, protecting international law, and maintaining stability in one of the world's most strategic waterways. Let me remind all delegates that the Security Council functions as the foremost forum for urgent international peace and security matters. As such, the chair expects all speakers to observe strict decorum, use diplomatic language, and maintain a spirit of cooperation even in disagreement. The agenda before us has been adopted. Before we begin formal debate, we will now proceed to roll call. When your country or organization is called, please respond with either present or present and voting. Present allows you the option to abstain during on substantive matters, and present and voting means you must vote either in favor or against any draft resolution. Abstentions will not be allowed for delegations using this option. The roll call will proceed in alphabetical order in English. Delegates, please respond clearly. Republic of the Philippines,
Present and voting.
People's Republic of China,
Present.
United States of America,
Present and voting.
Russian Federation,
Present and voting.
Vietnam,
Present and voting.
International Crisis Group.
Present.
With quorum established, we shall now proceed to the general speakers list. Each delegate will have 2 minutes to present their opening statement. Please remain respectful and use appropriate parliamentary language. The chair now recognizes the distinguished delegate from the Republic of the Philippines de la Vega.
Honorable Chair, distinguished delegates. The Republic of the Philippines reaffirms its sovereign and lawful rights over the West Philippine Sea, rights rooted in geography, history, and firmly upheld under the 1982 United Conventions on the Law of the Sea. These rights were further confirmed by the 2016 arbitral ruling, which declared China's expansive Nan-Daesh line has no legal basis. Yet, despite this binding decision, we continue to face unlawful provocation. Chinese Coast Guard and maritime militia vessels have harassed our civilian vessels, conducted dangerous maneuvers, and used water cannons against resupply missions to Ayungin Shoal. Meanwhile, continued island building and militarization within our exclusive economic zone threaten not only Philippine sovereignty, but also regional peace and freedom of navigation. Let me be clear. The Philippines does not seek conflict. We seek compliance with international law, respect for sovereignty, and a peaceful region governed by rules and not coercion. To that end, we call for the deployment of a UN maritime verification mission to Ayungin Shoal within 60 days and propose a regional maritime training initiative in partnership with ASEAN to strengthen peaceful dispute resolution and lawful maritime conduct. Let us choose law over force, dialogue over domination, and justice over silence. I thank you and I yield the floor to the chair.
I thank the representative of the Republic of the Philippines for her opening statement. I give the floor to the representative of the People's Republic of China.
Thank you, Chair. Honorable Chair, distinguished delegates, the delegation of the People's Republic of China reaffirms its unwavering commitment to peace, stability, and mutual development in the South China Sea. For centuries, China has exercised continuous and effective jurisdiction over the Nansha Islands and surrounding waters. Our claims, represented by the Nine Dash Line, are rooted in historical usage, maritime exploration, and long-standing administration, predating modern maritime conventions. China does not seek confrontation. We remain firmly committed to resolving disputes through peaceful dialogue, and we believe that bilateral negotiations built on mutual respect and non-interference are the most effective and appropriate mechanisms for doing so. This approach has already produced constructive outcomes with several ASEAN neighbors, and we stand ready to pursue similar efforts with all concerned parties. We categorically reject the 2016 arbitral award, which was unilaterally initiated and politically motivated. The tribunal lacked jurisdiction, and its ruling failed to address the core issue of sovereignty, an issue that lies outside the scope of UNCLOS arbitration. Attempts to enforce this ruling without consultation only deepen mistrust and hinder cooperation. China also expressed grave concern over increasing foreign military activities in the region, conducted under the pretext of freedom of navigation. These maneuvers not only violate our sovereignty, but also disrupt the fragile peace and escalate tensions unnecessarily. Despite these challenges, China remains a constructive partner in the ongoing negotiations of a code of conduct with ASEAN, aimed at fostering dialogue, managing differences, and ensuring long-term stability. We welcome all initiatives that promote peaceful cooperations, provided they respect historical facts, sovereign rights, and the principle of non-coercion. Let us not allow this vital region to become a stage for power rivalry. Instead, let us build a South China Sea defined by peace, friendship, and shared development. I thank you, and I yield the floor to the chair.
I thank the representative of the People's Republic of China for his opening statement. I give the floor to the representative of the United States of America.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. The United States reaffirms its unwavering commitment to the rule of international law, particularly the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. Freedom of navigation, overflight, and lawful maritime operations are essential not only in the South China Sea but in all international waters. Our presence in the Indo-Pacific is not one of provocation, but of partnership, demonstrating support for a rule-based order that protects the right of all nations. Maritime dispute must be resolved through law, not coercion or force. We reiterate our strong support for the 2016 Arbitral Tribunal ruling in favor of the Philippines. It is final and legally binding. Any attempt to undermine it is a threat to international law and the credibility of this council. We are deeply concerned by reports of harassment of Philippine vessels, the use of water cannons and lasers, and the continued militarization of artificial features. This act endangers civilian lives and diplomatic stability. In accordance with our mutual defense treaty, we affirm that any armed attack of Philippine public vessels will invoke our defense commitment. Through the Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement, we continue to support maritime awareness and capacity building. The United States call on our parties to reject coercion, respect international law, and pursue multilateral dialogue. We welcome ASEAN-led efforts toward a binding code of conduct and stand ready to support peaceful, lawful solution. I thank you and I yield the floor.
I thank the representative of the United States for her opening statement, and I now give the floor to the representative of the Russian Federation.
Thank you, Chair. The Russian Federation reaffirmed its long-standing position that sovereignty, territorial integrity, and non-interference in the internal affairs of the state must be upheld under all circumstances. While we do not have claims in the West Philippine Sea, we view the situation with growing concern, particularly regarding the potential for unintended military escalation and rising tension between regional actors. We stress importance of preserving the South China Sea as a zone of peace, trade, and cooperation. The increasing militarization of disputed features, provocative naval encounters, and the building up of foreign military infrastructure risk undermining regional stability. Russia maintains a position of strategic neutrality. We do not support the use of pressure, force, or alliance based confrontation in resolving maritime disputes. Instead, we encourage all parties to engage in inclusive, good faith dialogue based on mutual respect and guided by international law. In this context, we propose a voluntary moratorium on military exercise and deployment in contested areas as a confidence building measure. Furthermore, we support the establishment of neutral multilateral mediation mechanism, possibly under the auspice of United Nations or ASEAN, to facilitate diplomatic progress and reduce the risk of miscalculation. Let us not act with force but with diplomacy. The Russian Federation urges all stakeholders to recommit to peaceful resolution, mutual restraint, and de-escalation in the interest of long-term regional and international security. I thank you, Chair, and I yield the floor.
I thank the representative of the Russian Federation for her opening statement. I give the floor to the representative of Vietnam.
Thank you, Chair. Vietnam is no stranger to the complex and persistent challenges of maritime sovereignty. Our waters have been the site of overlapping claims, direct confrontations, and alarming encroachments into our exclusive economic zone, particularly near features such as Vanguard Bank, the Parsa Islands, and other contested areas of the South China Sea. Our fishermen have endured threats and interference, and our fragile marine ecosystems, so vital to regional food security and biodiversity, have suffered degradation due to unsustainable practices and militarization. Vietnam joins our ASEAN neighbors, particularly the Republic of the Philippines, in opposing unilateral actions that destabilizes peace, including the construction and fortification of artificial islands and the deployment of military assets in disputed waters by the People's Republic of China. We believe that only multilateral dialogue, adherence to international law, and regional solidarity can provide a durable path to stability. Vietnam strongly supports the establishment of a binding code of conduct in the South China Sea, grounded in the principles of UNCLOS, and reflective of our shared interests as ASEAN members. We call on this Council to support mechanisms to promote de escalation and cooperative solutions. Let us not leave behind a legacy of divisions, but rather become the generation that restores peace, respect, and balance to our seas. I thank you and I yield the floor.
I thank the representative of Vietnam for his opening statement. I now give the floor to the representative of International Crisis Group.
From a conflict analysis standpoint, the situation in the West Philippine Sea represents a textbook example of a regional dispute with far-reaching global consequences. It is a highly volatile mix of overlapping maritime claims, increased military presence, legal disagreements, and strategic signaling by multiple state actors. The convergence of these elements significantly raises the risk of misunderstanding, miscalculation, or unintended escalation. Beyond the immediate region, disruptions in the South China Sea affect global trade routes, energy flows, and the international legal order, making this issue a matter of international concern, not simply a local dispute. In light of this risk, we recommend the establishment of regional crisis prevention unit composed of rotating neutral observers from non-claimant states. This body could facilitate independent verification of naval movements, issue early warnings during periods of increased tension, and help ensure real-time communication between naval and coast guard commanders through a secure maritime hotline. Additional mechanisms could include mandatory pre-notification exercises, data sharing agreements, and the use of the civilian maritime liaisons officers on non-military patrols to de-escalate incidents at sea. We urge this council to not only act diplomatically, but preemptively, before tensions spiral beyond control. Preemptive diplomacy, grounded in transparency, neutrality, and cooperation, is key to avoiding crisis and promoting stability. I thank you, Chair, and I yield the floor.
I thank the representative of the International Crisis Group for her opening statement. Are there any points or motion at the floor at this time? Republic of the Philippines. To what point do you rise?
Thank you, Chair. Republic of the Philippines moves for a suspension of meeting for a moderated caucus of 10 minutes with 60-second speaking time to discuss maritime disputes and freedom of navigation in the West Philippine Sea.
Thank you, Delegate. Are there any more points or motion on the floor at this time? Seeing none, we have a motion on the floor from the Philippines for a moderated caucus for 10 minutes with 60 seconds speaking time to discuss maritime disputes and freedom of navigation in the West Philippine Sea. All those in favor, please raise your placards. All those opposed? Thank you, delegates. So this motion passes and we are now in a suspension of the meeting for a moderated caucus for 20 minutes. Republic of the Philippines, since you made the motion, would you like to reserve the right to speak first?
Yes, sure.
The floor is yours.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. The Philippines remains committed and deeply concerned by the ongoing incursions and aggressions or aggressive behavior that we continue to face within our exclusive economic zone, particularly in areas already clarified by the 2016 arbitral ruling. That award, issued under UNCLOS, made it clear that the so-called nine-dash line has no legal standing. And yet, unlawful maritime patrols, harassment of our civilian vessels, and military intimidation persist, posing real risks not just to Philippine sovereignty but to regional peace and lawful maritime access. These are not isolated incidents. They reflect a pattern of disregards for international norms. We urge this Council to take these developments seriously. Upholding the rule of law in the West Philippine Sea is not a bilateral matter. It is a test of whether international rulings have meaning. We stand ready to work with allies and institutions on multilateral solutions grounded in the UNCLOS. I yield the floor.
Thank you, delegate. All those wishing to speak next, please raise your placard. The People's Republic of China is recognized. You have the floor for 60 seconds.
Thank you, Chair. The People's Republic of China reaffirms its sovereignty over the South China Sea, based on historical rights and long-standing administration dating back to ancient times. Our position is well established through maps, practice, and domestic law, including the 1947 Nine-Dash Line and our 1992 Territorial Sea Law. We do not recognize the 2016 arbitral ruling, which was rendered without our participation and violates the principle of state consent. China opposes all forms of external interference in regional matters. We continue to advocate for bilateral negotiations as the appropriate and peaceful method for resolving disputes. I yield.
Thank you, delegate. Delegates wishing to speak next, please raise your placards. The Republic of the Philippines is recognized. You have the floor for 60 seconds.
Thank you, Chair. With due respect, history, no matter how ancient or deeply held, cannot override international law. Maritime rights and entitlements are not defined by historical narratives but by legal frameworks, and in this case, by United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, to which both the Philippines and China are signatories. The 2016 award, rendered under UNCLOS Annex 7, made it clear that again, China's expansive nine-dash line has no legal basis and the Philippines has sovereign authority and sovereign rights within its exclusive economic zone, and rejecting this ruling does not erase its authority, but it only undermines international law and sets a dangerous precedent of selective compliance. We therefore call on this Council to uphold legality, reject unilateralism, and support mechanisms that preserve peace through law. The Philippines remains open to dialogue, but it must be grounded in legal equality, mutual respect, and international obligation, not coercion or historical reinterpretation. I yield the floor.
Thank you. The floor is once again open. Delegates wishing to speak next, please raise your placards. The United States of America is recognized. You have the floor for 60 seconds.
Thank you, Chair. The United States firmly supports navigation and overflight and remain committed to upholding a rule-based international order at sea. The 2016 Arbitral Award, rendered under UNCLOS Annex 7, was a pivotal legal ruling that clarified maritime entitlements and affirmed that China's nine-dash line claims lack legal basis. While the United States is not a party to UNCLOS, we fully respect its principle and recognize the award as a critical step in protecting maritime law. We do not take sides on sovereignty over land features, but we urge multilateral dialogue, regional cooperation, and maritime transparency. The United States proposes the adoption of joint patrol framework along with incident prevention mechanisms and public reporting of military activities in disputed area. We support ASEAN-led diplomacy and welcome UN monitoring to build confidence and avoid escalation. This is not about rivalry, it is about upholding stability through law. I yield the floor.
Thank you, Delegate. Placards up for the next speaker. The Russian Federation is recognized. You have the floor for 60 seconds.
Thank you, Chair. The Russian Federation called for restraint, meaningful dialogue, and full respect for the sovereign of all the states involved. While we support the peaceful resolution of disputes, we caution against any resolution or process that seeks to impose legal outcomes on states that do not recognize them, as this risks undermining the principle of consent and sovereign equality. We firmly oppose the militarization of disputed maritime areas by any party. We urge all actors to prioritize de escalation over confrontation. For long term peace, the international community must uphold the value of neutrality, diplomacy, and non interference, the true foundation of stable and cooperative regional order. I yield the floor.
Thank you. The floor is open. All those wishing to speak, please raise your placards. The United States of America is recognized for your second intervention. You have the floor for 60 seconds.
Thank you, Chair. To ensure peace and order in these vital sea lanes, this Council must actively support transparency and accountability. The United States sponsors the inclusion of a clause requiring annual public reporting of military operations and maritime patrols in disputed waters. Greater visibility into naval activity will reduce the risk of miscalculation and build confidence among all parties. Freedom of navigation operations are not act of provocations. They are protective measure to uphold international law and safeguard global trade. We reaffirm our peaceful regional solution. This is not about projecting power. It is about protecting shared norms and rules that benefit all. I yield the floor.
Thank you. Delegates wishing to speak next, please raise your placards. The People's Republic of China is recognized for a second intervention. You have the floor for 60 seconds.
Thank you, Chair. The People's Republic of China reasserts that external naval activity conducted near our coast under the pretext of freedom of navigation is not neutral, it is provocative. These operations, often led by non-regional powers, heighten tensions and disregard the delicate balance in the region. We urge such actors to refrain from inserting themselves into disputes that should be resolved through regional mechanisms among neighbors directly concerned. China welcomes ASEAN cooperation, but only through frameworks that respect national sovereignty, avoid coercion, and promote mutual understanding. We maintain that bilateral negotiations based on equality and trust remain the most appropriate path forward toward lasting resolution. Let me be clear. China remains firmly committed to peace, but we will never compromise on matters of sovereignty or territorial integrity. I yield the floor.
Thank you, Delegate. The floor is open. Who would like to speak next? Vietnam is recognized. You have the floor for 60 seconds.
Thank you, Chair. Vietnam expresses deep concern over increasing confrontations in contested waters, including within our own EEZ. While we acknowledge the existence of overlapping claims, the continued militarization of disputed features threatens regional peace, destabilizes trust, and undermines the spirit of dialogue. Vietnam calls for greater ASEAN solidarity and supports proposals for a moratorium on further militarization. The establishment of crisis communication channels and the advancement of a rules-based resolution grounded firmly in UNCLOS. Our shared waters must be protected through cooperation, not surrendered to intimidation or unilateral force. We urge all parties to act with restraint and respect for international law. I yield the floor.
Thank you. Before proceeding, the chair notes a placard from the United States delegate. To what point they rise?
Thank you, Chair. The United States moved for a second moderated caucus for 10 minutes with a 60-second speaking time to specifically discuss regional security, architecture, and maritime transparency mechanisms in disputed waters.
Thank you. We have a motion on the floor for a 10-minute moderated caucus, 60 seconds per speaker, focusing on regional security, architecture, and transparency. All those in favor, please raise your placards. All opposed? With the motion passing by majority, the second moderated caucus will begin. United States as the motioning party, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. The United States believes that maritime transparency is essential to reducing tensions and preventing unintended conflict in contested waters. We propose the implementation of annual public reporting of naval and coast guard patrols, the sharing of radar data for humanitarian alerts, and the development of joint protocols for unplanned encounters at sea. These mechanisms are practical, preventive, and rooted in international norms that safeguard stability. We fully support ASEAN-led initiatives aimed at fostering maritime cooperations and are open to UN technical facilitation where appropriate. Let me be clear, this is not an exercise in power projection, but a clear commitment to stability, transparency, and regional security. The international community must work together to ensure that this water remain open, safe, and governed by law. I yield the floor.
Thank you. Delegates, placards up for the final intervention in this caucus. The International Crisis Group is recognized. You have the floor up to 2 minutes given observer status and subject matter expertise.
Thank you, Chair. Distinguished delegates, the International Crisis Group underscores the maritime transparency is no longer optional. It is urgent. In regions like the South China Sea, where multiple claimants operate in close proximity, the absence of reliable information, shared protocols, and coordinated crisis response mechanism creates a persistent risk of miscalculation or unintended escalation. We are seeing an increasingly complex security environment. Gray zone tactics, including the use of maritime militia, non-military coercion, and unannounced patrols, blur the line between assertiveness and aggression. Without clear reporting standards, hotline connectivity, and neutral incident reporting body under limited UN oversight, with data accessible to all parties. We commend ASEAN for its ongoing efforts toward a code of conduct, but urge greater data transparency, rules of engagement alignment, and multilateral buy-in from all regional and non-regional actors. Transparency does not weaken sovereignty. It prevents armed misjudgment, protects civilians, and enhances trust. Let us not wait for a flashpoint to act. Conflict prevention is not a soft option. It is strategic foresight. Thank you, Chair, and I yield the floor.
Thank you to the representative from the International Crisis Group. The floor is open. Who wishes to speak next? Vietnam is recognized. You have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Vietnam fully supports the proposals for enhanced maritime transparency. We have witnessed firsthand the dangers of miscommunication and overlapping patrols. Without standardized protocols, even routine movements can provoke disproportionate responses. Vietnam supports a real-time communication hotline, a moratorium on large-scale drills in disputed areas, and shared notification for patrols. We also call for all parties to reaffirm that any use of maritime force must be consistent with international law. I yield.
Thank you. The floor is open. The Republic of the Philippines is recognized.
Thank you, Chair. The Philippines reiterates its support for maritime transparency as a means of accountability and conflict prevention. In our experience, uncoordinated patrols and the shadowing of civilian vessels have significantly raised tensions. We support annual reporting, public transparency dashboards for naval presence, and multilateral mechanisms for reporting maritime incidents, as they are not just political tools, they are safety measures. Let us prioritize dialogue over surprise. I yield.
Thank you. Placards up for the next speaker. The People's Republic of China is recognized.
Thank you, Chair. China supports regional transparency, but not external imposition. We caution against mechanisms that disguise surveillance as oversight. Any transparency framework must be voluntary, bilateral, and fully respect state sovereignty. China welcomes hotlines with regional partners and the same dialogue, but opposes mandatory disclosure or third party enforcement. We remain open to cooperation, but only on equal footing. I yield.
Thank you, Delegate. The floor is still open. The Russian Federation is recognized.
Thank you, Chair. The Russian Federation believes transparency is valuable, but it must not compromise strategic autonomy or be used selectively. We support regionally negotiated protocols and reaffirm the principle of non interference in sovereign defense arrangement. We recommend confidence building measures such as notification prior to exercise, hotline activation standard, and neutral observer groups were invited. I yield.
Thank you. All those wishing to speak, please raise your placards at this time. Seeing none, this ends the moderated caucus and we will now move back into our formal session. The chair commends all delegates for their constructive participation. We heard strong reaffirmations of national sovereignty, legal arguments grounded in UNCLOS, calls for transparency and multilateral cooperation, as well as firm opposition to external interference. Despite differing views, the debate remained respectful and focused. As we move forward, the chair encourages continued diplomacy, collaboration, and solution driven dialogue. Let us work toward peaceful, lawful, and lasting outcomes. Honorable delegates, we will now proceed to the presentation of the draft resolution concerning maritime disputes and freedom of navigation in the West Philippine Sea. This phase allows the sponsors to formally present the resolution text to the body. Delegates are reminded to listen attentively as amendments and deliberation will follow shortly. The chair now invites the rapporteur to read the operative clauses of the draft resolution allowed for the council's consideration. You have the floor.
Thank you, Honorable Chair, distinguished delegate. It is my distinct honor to present the draft resolution SC/RES/2025/1 entitled Maritime Dispute and Freedom of Navigation in the West Philippine Sea. This resolution is sponsored by the Republic of the Philippines, the United States of America, and Socialist Republic of Vietnam, with the support of numerous signatories across regional lines. It represents the culmination of ongoing consultation, legal consideration, and shared concern over developments in the South China Sea. Developments that carry not only regional but global significance. We present this resolution as a firm yet balanced response to rising tension in illegal action and creating trust in one of the world's busiest and most contested waterways. It is built on three pillars: legality, transparency, and peaceful conflict prevention. Let me begin with the preambulatory section, which outlines the legal and political foundation of this resolution. The resolution affirms the centrality of the United Nations Charter and the United Nations Convention of the Law of the Sea, or UNCLOS. Adopted in 1982, UNCLOS remains the authoritative framework for determining maritime zones and entitlements. It recognized the 2016 Arbiter Award issued under Annex 7 of UNCLOS, which ruled that China's 9-dash line has no legal basis. While not universally accepted, this award is not binding on the parties and has become a critical precedent in maritime law. The preamble also expresses concern over acts of maritime harassment, coercion, and militarization, particularly the use of Coast Guard and militia vessels to obstruct lawful passage, shadow civilian ship, or interfere with the exclusive economic zone operation. Finally, the resolution commends ASEAN-led efforts to negotiate a code of conduct in the South China Sea, recognizing that regional diplomacy must be part of the solution supported but not replaced by the international action. The operative clauses, core proposal and mechanism. Now let me walk on the Council through the operative clauses, which are divided into clear areas of action. Clause 1. De-escalation and restraint. The first clause calls on all restraint, particularly in contested maritime areas. It urges all parties to halt any further militarization of any artificial islands, cease aggressive shadowing of vessels, and avoid action that increase the risk of naval confrontation. It is set the tone for a de-escalatory, non-provocative approach. Clause 2. Legal recognition of the 2016 Arbiter Award. Clause 2 reaffirms that authority of the 2016 Arbiter Award, recognizing it as a binding interpretation of UNCLOS. It calls on all parties to respect and not undermine its conclusion. This clause does not seek to punish or isolate, but to remind the Council that international law cannot be selectively applied. We must ask, what precedent do we set if legally binding rulings are openly disregarded? Clause 3. Regional Maritime Transparency Mechanism. This is sponsored by the United States of America. Clause 3 proposes a regional maritime transparency mechanism. A cornerstone of this resolution includes three practical tools. Subclause A, the establishment of annual public reporting of military and Coast Guard patrols in disputed waters. This promotes accountability, reduces rumors, and builds public confidence. Subclause B, coordination of joint maritime patrols among ASEAN states, especially for humanitarian missions, fishery protection, and search and rescue. Subclause C, the creation of real-time communication hotlines between naval and Coast Guard forces to prevent escalation during close-range encounters. These are not theoretical proposals. They reflect real recommendation made during these council-moderated caucuses and echo-proven models used in other maritime flashpoints globally. Clause 4. Support for ASEAN-China Code of Conduct. Clause 4 encourages the acceleration of the ASEAN-China Code of Conduct negotiation and authorizes UN technical support if jointly requested by ASEAN and China. The aim is not to internationalize the process, but to empower it with legal procedure expertise as needed. Clause 5. The UN Maritime Conflict Prevention Task Force. Clause 5 established a UN Maritime Conflict Prevention Task Force, a neutral body composed of legal, maritime, and diplomatic experts. The task force will monitor maritime development, provide on-request mediation, and help de-escalate incidents through impartial reporting and dialogue facilitation. Participation is voluntary. Task force acts only with consent preserving sovereignty while providing neutral conflict prevention support. Clause 6. Freedom of navigation and overflight. Clause 6 reaffirms that freedom of navigation and overflight must be respected in accordance with UNCLOS. It condemns any interference with lawful maritime activity, whether through blockades, intimidation, or coercive military presence. Trade, transport, and supply routes in this region are global scale. All of us, regardless of geographic proximity, have a stake in ensuring these routes remain open. Clause 7. Reporting requirement. Clause 7 calls on the Secretary General to submit a report to the Council within 12 months of this resolution's adoption, covering developments, compliance, and the effectiveness of transparency and conflict prevention mechanism. This ensures follow-up. It tells the world that we do not legislate and forget. We monitor, assess, and adopt. Clause 8. Contingent Council engagement. Finally, Clause 8 declares that the Council shall remain seized of the matter, reaffirming its ongoing commitment to regional stability, lawful conduct, and cooperative security in the West Philippine Sea. Closing remarks. Why this resolution matter? Distinguished delegates, this resolution does not seek to resolve all dispute overnight. It does not assign sovereignty or force compliance what it does offer a path forward peaceful, lawful, and practical. It strengthens the international legal framework through recognition of UNCLOS and the 2016 ruling. It introduced confidence-building tools to prevent incidents at sea. It balanced sovereignty with cooperation, allowing for flexibility without compromising on law. It supports ASEAN's leadership while welcoming global partnership. And remind us all that multilateral diplomacy is not about imposing outcomes. It is about protecting peace through dialogue, law, and mutual respect. In closing draft resolution SC/RES/2025/1 is a call to this council to act not with force but with foresight. We invite all members to join us in endorsing this resolution and welcome constructive feedback or proposed amendments aimed at enhancing its effectiveness. Let us choose transparency over secrecy, law over ambiguity, and stability over confrontation. Thank you, and I yield the floor.
Thank you to the sponsors and the rapporteur for presenting the draft resolution. The chair commends the body for maintaining diplomatic professionalism throughout this stage. The resolution as presented reflects a broad range of perspectives on maritime security, regional cooperation, and international law. As we move forward, delegates are reminded that constructive engagement during the amendment process will be essential to achieving a meaningful consensus. We will now proceed to the phase for proposing amendments and raising objections. Delegates are asked to ensure that all proposals are grounded in the principles of clarity, legality, and cooperation. Delegates, we are now opening the floor for amendments and objections to the draft resolution. Amendments may take the form of additions, deletions, or modifications to specific clauses. Please ensure that any proposed changes are submitted in writing and clearly identify the clause to be addressed. Objections may also be raised against the resolution in its current form or to specific operative clauses. These may be either friendly, accepted by all sponsors, or unfriendly, requiring debate and a procedural vote. Delegates who wish to speak in favor or against an amendment or objection will be given the floor accordingly. All those wishing to propose an amendment or raise an objection, please raise your placards at this time. The chair recognizes the People's Republic of China. Please state your proposed amendment.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. China proposes an unfriendly amendment to Clause 2 of the draft resolution. We move to strike the phrase reaffirms the binding nature of the 2016 arbitral award and replace it with acknowledges differing interpretations of maritime entitlements in the region, including those under UNCLOS. This amendment reflects the reality that not all states share the same legal interpretation of maritime jurisdiction. Forcing a legal conclusion that one of the primary parties rejects only hinders constructive dialogue. Our proposed revision allows space for ongoing negotiations and respects the sovereignty of states involved. I urge this council to support this more balanced language. I yield the floor.
Thank you, Delegate. This is an unfriendly amendment and therefore subject to procedural debate and a vote. We will now allow two speakers in favor and two speakers against the proposed amendment, each with a 60-second speaking time. Delegates wishing to speak in favor, please raise your placards. The Russian Federation is recognized.
Thank you, Chair. The Russian Federation supports this amendment because it introduces much needed diplomatic flexibility, insisting on ruling that one key state do not recognize can undermine the credibility of the Council's work. Instead, acknowledging legal diverse preserves the chance for future dialogue without alienating regional actors. The original language is too rigid. This amendment allows the Council to play a constructive and inclusive role. I yield the floor.
Thank you. Are there any other delegates wishing to speak in favor of the amendment? China is recognized for a second intervention.
Thank you again, Chair. To be clear, China does not recognize the jurisdiction or validity of the 2016 Arbitral Tribunal. It was unilaterally initiated by the Philippines and proceeded in our absence. Including language that claims it is binding, despite our rejection, undermines the spirit of neutrality that this Council must uphold. This amendment does not deny legality. It acknowledges the interpretations differ, which is a diplomatic fact. We welcome peace, but not one imposed through a ruling we reject. I yield the floor.
Thank you, Delegate. We will now move to speakers against the amendment. Placards up. Vietnam is recognized.
Thank you, Chair. Vietnam opposes this amendment in the strongest term. The 2016 arbitral ruling is not just a political outcome. It is a legal decision made under UNCLOS, the very convention that governs maritime law. To water down its language is to imply that legal rulings are optional, which undermines the entire framework of international law. We respect our neighbors, but not at the cost of legal clarity and institutional credibility. We urge the Council to reject this amendment. I yield.
Thank you. The floor is open for one more speaker against. Placards up, please. The Republic of the Philippines is recognized.
Thank you, Chair. The Philippines cannot support an amendment that seeks to erase a legally binding rule and clarify their maritime entitlements under international law. The Arbitral Tribunal ruled fairly and finally that the nine dash line has no legal basis under UNCLOS. Changing Clause 2 to accommodate rejection sets a dangerous precedent. We cannot allow states to pick and choose which rulings they obey. That path leads to legal chaos, not peace. We urge this council to stand for law, not ambiguity. I yield.
Thank you. We will now proceed to a procedural vote on the amendment proposed by China to Clause 2. All those in favor, please raise your placards. All those opposed? Any abstentions? With 2 in favor, 3 opposed, and no abstentions, the amendment is rejected. Clause 2 of the draft resolution will therefore remain in its original form. We now open the floor for further proposed amendments. Please raise your placards. The United States of America is recognized.
Thank you, Chair. The United States proposes a friendly amendment to Clause 3. We propose the addition of a new subclause stating, encourage all parties operating contested maritime areas to notify regional neighbors of large-scale naval exercises at least 30 days in advance, where feasible. This clause aims to reduce uncertainty, build confidence, and prevent the risk of miscalculation, especially in regions with overlapping patrols. It is aligned with existing international military transparency practices. I yield the floor.
Thank you, Delegate. As this is a friendly amendment and all sponsors have signaled their acceptance, the amendment is hereby adopted by consensus. Clause 3 is now amended to include the new subclause on advanced naval notification. Are there any further amendments on the floor? Vietnam, you are recognized to propose your amendment.
Thank you, Chair. Vietnam proposes an unfriendly amendment to add a new operative Clause 9. The proposed text reads, calls for a moratorium on further land reclamation and militarization of artificial features in disputed areas of the South China Sea until a regional code of conduct is finalized. We believe this is essential to stop further escalation and to preserve space for meaningful diplomacy. The military build-up on artificial features undermines trust and stability. This is not about punishing any one state, it is about restoring balance. I yield.
Thank you, Delegate. As this is an unfriendly amendment, it will be subject to procedural debate. We will now hear 2 speakers in favor and 2 speakers against. Delegates wishing to speak in favor, please raise your placards. The Republic of the Philippines is recognized.
Thank you, Chair. The Philippines supports this amendment. Our vessels face escalating risk every week due to land-based military installations on artificial features. Calling for a moratorium is a reasonable and temporary measure as it gives diplomacy a chance to catch up to reality. Without restraint, peace becomes impossible. This is a necessary pause, not a provocation. I yield.
Thank you. Any other speakers in favor? The United States is recognized.
Thank you, Chair. The U.S. supports the amendment as a conflict prevention tool. We have seen how rapid militarization of contested feature raises tensions and increases the risk of miscalculation. A, mo- a moratorium is a diplomatic bridge, not a barrier. We believe it strengthens ASEAN's voice and gives space for consensus building. I yield.
Thank you. The chair will now recognize two speakers against. Delegates wishing to speak, please raise your placards. The People's Republic of China is recognized.
Thank you, Chair. China opposes this amendment. We view it as a veiled restriction on our sovereignty right to develop and defend our maritime territory. No state should be asked to freeze legitimate activities in areas under its control while dialogue is ongoing. This language undermines sovereignty and sets a dangerous precedent. We urge delegates to reject it. I yield.
Thank you. One more speakers against. Placards up. The Russian Federation is recognized.
Thank you, Chair. The Russian Federation stand against this amendment. While we share concern over escalation, placing a moratorium through Security Council mandate may be viewed as an intrusion into the regional affairs. Such as measure must come from voluntary regional agreements, not imposed clauses. We respect ASEAN's diplomacy, but caution against overreach. I yield.
Thank you to all speakers. We will now proceed to a procedural vote on the proposed amendment by Vietnam to add a new Clause 9 concerning a moratorium on land reclamation and militarization. All those in favor, please raise your placards. All those opposed? Any abstentions? With 3 votes in favor, 2 opposed, and 0 abstentions, the amendment is adopted. A new Clause 9 has been added to the resolution calling for a temporary moratorium on militarization in disputed areas until a regional code of conduct is finalized. Honorable delegates, we will now proceed to a roll call vote on draft resolution SC-RES 2025-1 as amended. Before we begin, I remind the Council that this is a procedural vote. Observers must leave the chamber at this time. Only voting members may remain. During voting procedure, no delegate may enter or exit the meeting, nor may any delegate interrupt the process except on a point of order relating directly to the code of conduct of the vote. Per Security Council procedure, there are no abstentions for permanent members when voting on substantive matters. A vote of no from any of the 5 permanent members constitutes a veto. The Council will vote in alphabetical order in English, and each delegate may respond with yes, no, abstain, or pass. If a delegate passes, they will be called again at the end of the roll. We will now begin the roll call vote. People's Republic of China,
Abstain.
Republic of the Philippines,
Yes.
Russia,
Yes.
United States of America,
Yes.
Vietnam,
Yes.
with 4 votes in favor, 0 opposed, and 1 abstentions, and with no veto cast by any of permanent members, the resolution is adopted as Security Council SC-RES 2025-1. The Council has spoken. Let us proceed with our responsibility to implement its contents constructively and cooperatively. Distinguished delegates, with the adoption of Security Council Resolution SC-RES 2025-1, this body has reaffirmed its role in upholding peace, legality, and maritime stability. The resolution strengthens transparency, supports regional dialogue, and reinforces the principles of the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. And while views remain divergent, today's outcome demonstrates that diplomacy can prevail over deadlock. The Philippines has seen its call for lawful recognition and multilateral cooperation reflected in Council action. China, while maintaining its principled stance, showed diplomatic maturity in choosing to abstain rather than veto, allowing the Council to move forward. This resolution is not an end but a beginning. The chair urges all parties to carry forward its spirit not just through statements but through tangible and peaceful action. With that, may I give the floor to the Republic of the Philippines to give us a post-resolution statement.
Thank you, Chair. The Philippines sincerely thanks this Council for adopting SC-RES 2005-1, a resolution that restores faith in multilateralism and reaffirms the nation's arguments brought about by the 2016 Arbitral Award. This outcome sends a powerful message that international law protects not just the powerful, but the principled. So, through this resolution, our sovereign rights are defended not through force, but through consensus and cooperation. We express particular appreciation to nations that supported this initiative, and we pledge to implement this resolution with honor. And with our doors open to continued diplomacy anchored in UNCLOS and mutual respect. I yield.
Thank you to the delegate of the Philippines for that statement. The Council now recognizes the People's Republic of China should it wish to offer an explanation of vote or final remarks. You have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. China abstained on SC-RES 2025-1 as a gesture of restraint and responsibility. While we do not recognize the 2016 arbitral ruling and maintain our historical claims, we acknowledge the need for regional stability and cooperative tone. Let it be clear, our abstention does not equate to endorsement. However, China respects this Council's process and welcomes elements of the resolution that supports regional dialogue and transparency, especially within the same framework. We remain committed to bilateral negotiations and continue to oppose external interference. Peace in the South China Sea will be achieved not through pressure, but through patience, partnership, and regional wisdom. I yield the floor.
Thank you, Delegate. The Chair acknowledges the constructive restraint shown by all parties today, even amid fundamental disagreements. This Council is not a court nor a battlefield. It is a forum for balancing conflict with cooperation. Today, through Resolution SC-RES 2025-1, we have moved the conversation forward. Implementation now becomes the true test of our collective resolve. That this moment reminds us that peace is not found in perfection but in perseverance. The Chair thanks all delegations for their diplomacy, their discipline, and their dedication to the international order. The meeting is hereby adjourned.